Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Come on down to Boost Mobile and turn your tax refund into 6 months of savings?
Nope, all wrong. You're on the radio touting Boost Mobile's 5G network. You gotta use your radio voice, like this. Come on down to Boost Mobile and get 6 months free when you buy 6 months on our best unlimited plans. Now you go.
This is just how my voice sounds.
Just say it like you mean it.
Okay.
Plus, enter to win up to $10,000 and double your tax refund.
Oh my.
Requires upfront payment. Taxes and fees extra. Terms and exclusions apply. Visit boostmobile.com for full offer terms and sweeps details.
Hi guys, welcome to this week's episode of Venom Inc. I'm your podcast host Tony Evans. Enjoy this extended interview that I just did with Tony the Demolition Man Dolan. I think you're going to absolutely love it. He was such a dude, such a nice, genuine human being. Talks about music, talks about life, philosophy, way to live your life. It's just great. I had a real fun time chatting to him. It's quite a long episode, so you might want to listen to this in a couple of chunks. There's no advert breaking. I don't like to try and find a space where I can put a break in, because the conversation just doesn't flow that way. It's much more human to do it. So I really do hope you enjoy this show, because I know that that Tone and I did. The two Tones enjoyed it. So let's sit back, relax, like and subscribe, people, please. Yes, like and subscribe. Flick up on Spotify and give me a review or a rating. That'd be great. And we'll enjoy this interview with Tony Demolition Man Dolan, because he's a dude. Bye for now. Enjoy the interview. Over to you, Tony. And Tony.
Yeah, baby. You know, the thing is, it's one of those things that people go like, you're always working. I said, because the world doesn't sleep. You know, when you're going to bed, the rest of the world's getting up and vice versa.
Mate,
I said, it's
absolutely, man, Tone. It never stops.
now it keeps turning around.
It does indeed. I love the guitars behind you, man. Nice guitars.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this I've been writing on this. The Jackson I picked up. I kind of like the Jackson V, so I managed to purchase myself one. I've got a kind of Burns Brian May special.
Yeah.
When I worked for Queen, so I grabbed one of those when he first did the deal with Burns.
Yeah.
So I got a really special one of those. And then I had an LTD, like a Les Paul, and I had a Gary Moore Lemon Drop, a Lemon Burst. So I was usually writing on those, but then I kind of like the sound of Jackson, and I thought, well, that's a bit more metal. So I've been writing everything on that now, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I haven't done anything else. You know, everybody said to me, yeah, you got the Jackson. What you got to do is you got to get those pickups out because they're shit, and put this in and do that and do this. So I spoke to a really well-known guitarist who I admire, and I said, listen, I bought this Jackson. And he said, oh, great. I said, now, everybody's saying I should take the Jackson pickups up and do this and do that. What do you reckon? He went, how does it sound? I said, it sounds great. How does it feel? I said, it feels great. He said, then don't touch it.
Exactly.
Said, it's an individual thing, and he's right. He's right.
Yeah, well, what's happened with Gary Moore? He took the tip pickups, put them back because he didn't like it. So that doesn't sound right. And when he got it back, he went, oh no, put them back in. That's how greedy he had them.
Exactly. And it's one of those things, you know, with instruments, it's like, you know, you can try like 10 of the same model in the shop, and one can speak to you and the other 9 just don't feel right. So it's like, you know, just try everything, and then when it's right, it'll feel right, sound right, and then it's right for you, you know?
That's right. I got several guitars. One I can only play blues on. Like I've got this 60s one, and it's like I pick it up. It only says you play blues. It won't let me do anything else. You know. You're a bit frozen. You okay? You're right there.
Got you
there
back.
you go.
Got you back.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, like the blues one, like, and then I pick up my, I've got a few Ibanez's and stuff, and they're the heavy metal ones. Like, oh yeah, okay, you know. Same with my basses, you know, they just play different sounds. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's it's like when the missus goes like, well, you've got another guitar. What do you need one for? You've got so many guitars. I go, well, this one's different. They're like, no, it's not. I'm going, it is. But you can't explain that to someone that doesn't play. Yeah.
No, you can't.
Definitely.
No.
I mean, I got a telly. Yeah, I got a telly and a Strat, and they all do different things, and they all feel right for different stuff, you know. So it depends on the wood and the laminate and just everything, configuration, pickups, the whole thing.
The vibe when it was made, even, you know, there's that vibe even when it was made.
Absolutely, you know. And some things I've got, like some basses I've got, which are for the studio are beautiful, work so well in the studio, but lives are a bit like, you know, and then other ones which are perfect for live just don't feel as rounded in the studio. So, you know, it depends
they're
on what
for
you're
live.
doing.
They want to be played live, right? That's the energy
exactly.
is like, play me live, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And I always say that, you know, it's the same with kind of any art, I think, particularly with the music. It tells you what it wants to do. You're just a conduit.
Exactly, Tone. That's exactly how I felt forever, ever. You know, like, it's such a painful process, creation anyway. So let it do what it does. It does its own thing.
Yeah, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it will take you where it needs to go. You just have to let it take you. You know, when you try and force it, it's like becomes too kind of, you know, it becomes too forced. It doesn't feel creative. It feels like you're trying to make something.
Yeah, and you can hear that in the music. You can hear it. It comes
very
through.
much so. I watched a documentary yesterday. I watched a clip of a documentary yesterday, and who was it? See if I can remember who it was. It was the Jam. It was the Jam.
Oh, because he died. The drummer died recently. That's right.
Yeah, he did. So they did this retro documentary, but they were talking to Bruce Foxton, and when they kind of when Paul wasn't writing at a period, and so him and the drummer were trying to come up with stuff, and he came up with a few songs, and he said we pitched it to the label, and they're just going with it just isn't there, whatever it is. I mean, they're okay, but there's nothing really there. And he said, so I found myself going, well, what would you like it to sound like? He said, and I thought, hang on. We never did that in the old days. We just wrote whatever we wrote, and that was it. And now I'm trying to please the A&R guy. It's like, no. It was wrong. Yeah.
You're the Jam. You don't have to please anyone, right?
No, exactly. That was the whole point. Yeah, and so it's nice when you listen to Paul Weller just going, fuck it. I just don't want to do it. Fuck him.
Yeah, exactly. No, right, exactly. Bruce is my hero. Bruce is one of my heroes. Like, what a
oh yeah, I mean, those bass lines, the Rickenbacker, that whole
it's just Ricky's are hard to play. I played a Ricky, and I didn't find it ezy to play.
No, I think the thing is, I have to say, Motorhead in '78, I bought one. And I fell in love with it, and of course learned everything I could from Lemmy, and then and I wanted to move on to Bruce Foxton. I learned all that stuff, and then got rid of that. Years later, I bought a 505, then another 4001, another 4002 stereo, and I've got one left now, and I just can't play it the way it doesn't feel the same. I don't know what it is, you know. So it's like, maybe it was just a point in time,
but phase in time. Yeah. Exactly. Whereas my 72 Fender Jazz, it just always works. You know, that thing.
Well, that's it. You know, with a P bass or a Jazz, particularly a Fender Jazz. Yeah. I mean, that's a go-to, absolute go-to
every time.
Yeah. I mean, someone said to me, I think it was yesterday or the day before, they wrote to me and said, "Oh, we're doing some work in the studio. I just wanted to ask if you don't mind, what did you use bass-wise when you did the Primeval stuff and that stuff?" And I said, well, you know, I had a Cosmos Stingray, so it was a transistor amp, so it wasn't a valve amp.
God.
I said I had no pedals, and I just used an Ibanez Artist, went straight in. I said the Artist is kind of a jazz bass, and I've always kind of favored those kind of tones, the jazz tones. Because you can get lots of bottom end and lots of groove out of it, but you also get that top end and that pitch, which is a 3-piece that puts you through. So you get the Geddy Lee sound. And the Bruce Foxton and the Motorhead if you overdrive it. And you know, the weird thing is, which even I didn't know for a long time, was that Geddy Lee did a lot of his stuff, the live recording or the recordings. He did a lot of the stuff on a Fender Jazz, but it sounds like a Rickenbacker.
It does.
So he got that sound.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
That round sound. Yeah, that round
so
sound.
You can hear that jazz, that Briggerman, and go, oh, it's so distinctive. So go listen to fucking Rush. A lot of that stuff he did on a Fender Jazz.
Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
Steve Harris. You know, I mean, it's all he's ever played. It's like, well, of course, it's it's the cornerstone for most of us these days.
Totally, and you can hear that tonality in it. You know, through if you compare Geddy Lee's finger playing to Steve's finger playing, and you can hear the difference in the tonality on the same kind of bass. You know. I mean, I think his is a precision, but you know, still that tonality's there.
Yes.
You know, you can do anything with it.
Oh, you can.
Perfect.
And it's just an era in time, you know. So yeah. So when you were like, what I would talk to you, Tone, because obviously we all know you from, as you can see, my T-shirt says Venom Inc on there. We all know you from this amazing band, right? And
thank you.
No, I do. We know you from that wonderful time and from those albums with Venom, because they were my favourite period outside the first few albums.
Of course,
obviously the classics, but you know, Primeval is just it's one of those albums that you can't top. I think it's one. It just was for me. Like it was my, because I remember coming across you when I was about 18, just 18 sometime, and I'd gone into the Venom, and I really got into Venom, and then Kronos left, and it was like, well, okay, then I don't know what's going to go on here. What's going to happen now? And then you came along, and I wasn't expecting Primeval, man. I wasn't.
No, I don't think anybody was, to tell you the truth.
No, I wasn't expecting the kind of tones.
At that point where he went, you know, for years, people would go, preceding years, people would say to me, post me joining, they would go, you know, what's it like stepping into his shoes and stuff? I said, I never wear another man's shoes. I only wear my own shoes. I don't need someone else's boots. I've got some by myself. I said, and for me, it was a later consideration. I didn't consider it at the time. As far as I was concerned, they were my friends. I had an association from way back with them from the beginning. We were then on the same label. We all knew the same people. We all hung out the same places. We were all kind of... So for me, it was like... I'd come to an impasse with Atomkraft. We'd just done a huge tour. It was the best. We got the best results we'd had. We had demos for a new album. We were on the cusp of looking for a new label. The singer who we had at the time, because we brought a singer in, he decided to leave. The guitarist decided to go, so it left me and the drummer. And he was like, well, we got a new guitarist. You could go back to doing bass vocals. And I said, you know, after 10 years of kicking the shit out of this, I'm kind of a bit bored at the minute. I just want to just take a break and think what I want to do. And it just happened to be at the same moment that Conrad decided Calm Before the Storm was no good and he wanted to do something else. So they came to me. And even when they initially came to me, I didn't realize they were asking me to do the job. But they knew, their whole thing was, you know where we went wrong, because they felt that Possessed and Calm Before the Storm were big mistakes. And the band had depleted itself somewhat and kind of lost their way of what they initially set out to be. So, they knew that I was a huge fan. I could play the stuff. I could sing the stuff. I knew the stuff. I knew the band and what I liked about the bands. And so it was kind of a rescue line for them, I guess. So, and for me, I thought, well, if Conrad doesn't want to do it, I don't want there to be a no Venom. I'd rather there was a Venom. I get to play with my mates. I get to write new music. And I get to go out and sing those great songs that I love.
Win-win, right?
So for me, it was a no-brainer. I didn't think I was replacing anybody. I thought I was stemming a sinking ship. So that's why I went in there. There was only Abaddon. There was no Mantis. They'd asked him. He said, fuck off. Yeah. And so they knew that I had a big association with Jeff. And so they used me to coax him to come back in, which is what I did.
I'm glad you did, man. Wonderful thing you did.
And there we are, it went from there. And the initial thing, I think I probably wrote about 60% of the album before Jeff had even decided to come back on board. And then we completed it. And I think people were just thinking, well, that's it, it's over. I mean, how could you, and then we put it out and bang, it went through the roof and
wow. Yeah, that's
bang,
amazing.
bang. Yeah. And the response was amazing. The tour was amazing. The reviews were amazing. And it was like, wow, there we are, we're back. So, it was fantastic.
I didn't get to see
It
you on
went
that
downhill
tour,
pretty quick, but it was
unfortunately.
fantastic.
But it was what was amazing about the album, and I've got it in all its forms, right? But is that you were really forward thinking in the sound style that you were making. So there was the DNA of Venom was definitely there,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
Really much so. But then, like those little hints where you were using, sort of radio bits coming in and out, and it was very emotional, more emotional, I think, that album than Venom had ever been. But still with extreme force,
Yeah, I think so. I think that Abaddon felt the freedom to be a drummer, which he was the drummer, of course, before, but he was the bludgeon, mix of cement mixer who's just like trying to get through the songs.
Yeah.
And I think it was very different with me and him. He committed some lyrics, and I used some of them on the works. Had to rework them because he's not quite a lyricist or a musician, but as far as writing music goes. But I think he felt more at liberty to be a drummer, and had a bit more confidence in his drumming. And I think that Jeff also felt a bit more freedom. There was no, that we all got on very well. There was a great atmosphere. We all felt very positive. This was something positive we're doing. And, when I remember even with Atomkraft, by the time we got signed in 85, we were outdated. But some of the songs that made the album were ones I had in 1979, which was,
they're great, man. I fucking love that album.
Well, it was, I was told so many times, it's great, but you're ahead of your time. And then by the time I actually managed to get it out, I was behind the fucking car. So it was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And that's happened several times to me in my career up to this point, where people have said, I love it, but it's just not what's happening now. You're ahead of the game. You've got to come back a bit. And then you're trying to reinvent yourself to fit into some kind of market. It's like you can't do that. Yeah, it becomes false. It becomes fake.
Yeah.
And so I think with Primeval, there was a lot of that stuff going on. I mean, Into the Fire with the radio mixing was like a mayhem with Mercy.
Yeah.
School Days, which was the second part of Teacher's Pet.
Yeah.
The Fax Machine, which was new technology at the beginning, which is the whole point. And that was an Abaddon thing, which was great. And then the bass riff I had, which is actually the main riff I'd had, and the song was much faster initially, was Sammy Hagar's This Planet's on Fire. That was that riff.
Really?
That was the one. I used it on bass, and then we mimicked it on a xylophone, and then we ended up with what we got, So, but it was kind of good. We were experimenting, and we felt that we could experiment. But I was very aware, when I wrote Parasite, Carnivorous, Blackened Other Priest, that I was trying to tether us to the spirit of Venom, which was that angry, fun, who gives a fuck what happens, that kind of controlled chaos. That was the spirit behind it. And we felt the exuberance of youth again. And I think that's what really made that album work,
Yeah, it's brilliant because like in Parasite, particularly Parasite, I love the way you spit out the lyric in Parasite. There's a real, you can almost feel your breath in your ear through the mic, It's a real powerful track, and Black and Other Priest is one of my favorites. When you played that live here in Canberra when you were here last, it was just like, oh, okay, I think I'm going to go heaven now. You could stick a fork in me, I'm done, right? It was really amazing.
Yeah.
But the thing about you talk about the freedom, and not having a go at Kronos because he's a great musician and a great guy, but you are ostensibly a better bass player than him, and so Abaddon has more freedom because you both have more freedom. Like he opened his chops up because he's obviously got bluesy stuff.
He loves the blues. He loves the blues. The big old hitting songs, the Ian Pasty, purpley stuff. That's where he lives and breathes. Yeah,
and you can hear that on Primeval. That he's opening his shoulders because he's letting you go. You can then playing off each other. Then plays off of Jeff.
I think that was it. I think there was a difference in the musicianship, so the approach was different. I think I agree with you. I personally, I obviously was used to Conrad's voice, and I liked his bassing.
Oh, so do I. Love it.
Yeah, and he, you know, the whole 12th fret missing and playing it through like that with those big swoops and stuff.
Yeah.
Which was brilliant, you know, and it worked really well. But even now I have elongated necks on the basses because when I do the old stuff live, I do the swooping stuff because that's part of it, you know.
Yeah.
And you want to stay true to that feeling. But I'm more notation, so I like to run against the guitar and you know, cover in those areas when the guitar goes into solo. So for me, it was about that musicianship, you know. So our approach was slightly different. I was much more punky. I mean, like real punky.
Yeah.
So I could really hit hard with things like Parasite and stuff like that. Insane, you know, really kick that shit out.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's where I was born, you know. And then, you know, keep the Venom spirit for the darker stuff, the carnivorous skeletal dancers and all that kind of stuff, you know. So I think the balance was there. And, you know, I had a bigger vocal range, so it was easier for me. So it was going to be different anyway. So, you know, there's no point trying to mimic what went before, because why would you do that? You know, that's them, that's not you. You have to use your own personality. It is what it is. People will like it or not like it, but you can't force them to like it or not like it. But you can only be yourself. So that's how I went into it. But I even today, you know, we just finished the American tour. Parasite goes down like a bomb every night because people can relate to that, you know, because they've all got parasites in their life, their government or their partner or their ex-boss or whatever. And Black and the Priest gets a huge fucking shout when it comes, and they know the bass solos come in. The whole darkness of that, you know. So, and it's fun to play live. And so it's nice to have, like, you know, 30-odd years later, to have these younger audiences who weren't even alive when the last album that I did with Venom was done, or the 95 album was done, you know, to have them coming and wanting to hear these songs, as well as classics. They want to hear some classics, but they want to hear all of these songs, every song. And so when you play them and to hear their response as soon as they hear the intro is amazing. It's amazing. And you feel the value of that, you know, so...
Yeah, and I think I think with Primeval, what's amazing about Primeval as well, and this is for the original band members as well, is that a lot of people will come to you and find that album because it's now, you know, it's been sort of it's having a renaissance, and so people find the album, hear that, and then go backwards and listen to the older albums. You know,
that's it, Tone. I've always said that. You know, I always said, I've maintained it since I first went in there, and I've said it all the way through these years. Is I don't give a shit when you find Venom. I just want you to find Venom. And I didn't want a world without a Venom. Kronos is still out there doing that. Fantastic, you know? I don't want that not to happen. And we did our thing because I wanted the other two people to be able to be seen. And if you couldn't see the three of them together, there was value in what they did. And I wanted to expose that to the audience, to a young audience, a new audience, who never had the chance in the old day. So you might have someone coming to a show who's like, I don't know, 60, and he was at Hammersmith Odeon in 1980, and he bought the first single, and la 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 la. You know, standing at the back with a big handkerchief because I'm not Kronos. But what about the 16-year-old kid who's standing at the front losing their shit because the first album was everything to them, and they don't know what those people look like now. They don't know who those people were. They just want to hear the songs. Nice. And then they hear the songs and lose their mind. So you're saying that we shouldn't play to those kids who might never get a chance to hear it or see it? Of course we should.
Of course you should.
And you know, there's an association with all of us. You know, it's a family. It's a dysfunctional family, but it is a family. And it's gloriously dysfunctional. But then that's the whole Venom ethos. It wasn't supposed to be perfect. It was supposed to be very live chaos, And that's the wonder of it, you know.
Yeah, because I took my when you played in Canberra, so the very first time in Australia ever, you played in Canberra, the first show, and I took my daughter's boyfriend. I mean, they'd been together a long time, and at that time he was probably 21, 22, and I took him to that, and you couldn't get the grin off his face big enough, man. Like we were driving back in the car, and he's like, I've got to get all the other albums. I've got to get all the other albums. And I remember because it was Christmas, I'd bought him the tickets, and I was like, we're going to go. It's February. We're going in February, and I for the life of me, had no Venom shirts that fit me anymore because they were just all a little bit too small for my. I was 16 when I bought my first. I've still got them, but I can't fit them. And Christmas morning, I was opening my present, and it was a Venom T-shirt, and I literally almost cried, man. I looked at him, and I was like, "You don't realize what this meant," because I kept telling him, "I want to go to the gig with a shirt on." I don't. What? Yeah. And he's like, and he bought me that, and it was the most beautiful thing, man.
Amazing.
Beautiful thing, like. Yeah. And then he bought me Primeval, the yellow reissue of it. And fuck, it's But I mean, that is a wonderful time. All of your albums with Venom, to be honest with you. I know that a lot of them made me focus things like Primeval, because that's the one where you come in and it is the monster of the albums that you did with them. But all of them are amazing. Every single one of them has value. Every single one of them has a different view on the music that you play with Venom. I think they all have solid gold on them. And I just,
you know, I appreciate that very much. And I think the thing is that, it was a very political thing to diss the albums and say nobody was interested and it wasn't, but then that was a political thing because, when you feel you've been usurped or you feel that your band is about you and then all of a sudden it isn't, then you just got to say it's shite whether it is or it isn't. No. And because music is quite emotional, it's like the first time you hear that song at that point in your life, you never get rid of that. So you want to hear that then, because when you hear that song, like if you go and see Kiss and they don't play Rock and Roll All Night or Strutter, or you go and see Motorhead and they didn't play Overkill or Ace of Spades, you'd feel kind of ripped off. They've got a million other songs. Yeah. You can have fun at the concert, but you just want them to play that. You just want DC to play Hell's Bells or Touch Too Much or Let There Be Rock or something. Yeah. There's that song that you just think, it's fair enough if you don't play it, but if you don't, I still feel a little ripped off because that was the song that made me love you. And everybody has those songs. Yeah. And so, it's understandable to have fans. Some fans feel that, no, you're going to change my history. I don't want my history changed. I want it to be like this forever.
Ever, yeah. No, I've been that way before. I've done it, and I'm all guilty of it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, your parents don't have the same fucking fridge you had when you were a kid. Why? Because they don't last forever.
Exactly.
Your TV isn't the same fucking TV you had when you first got married or whatever, moved out. Yeah. So it's like, and people are the same. They change their values, they change their viewpoints, they change their lives, they get married, they get sick, they want to move on, they get bored, and they want to do something new. And so it's not unusual. Every band has it, every band goes through it. And the ones that manage to stay together are unusual, but they don't spend all their time together. So, there's all of that which people don't take into account. But what you have to think about is there's 2 generations between that point and this point. And so those people never got a chance to see that or feel that or have those emotions. And now they've discovered it, they want to have that live. Yeah. So I think it's our duty, Conrad's too, to go out and give them that experience, give them that intensity. We're old guys. We're not teenagers, but if a teenager can stand in front of you while you scream and blow their minds, then that's fantastic.
Because the energy comes back and forth.
Yeah. Yes. And like I said, they may come in where their favorite album is Temples of Ice or Cast in Stone or Hell or whatever it is. And then they go out going, shit, I want to get everything. And the beauty about that is you can go back and there's a whole legacy of music there. And you can go forward too. And there's more in front of you and behind you. Yeah. So it's a wonderful library. You might not like everything. You might love everything. But at least you've got it all there to explore. And that's the point,
Yeah. And I think, like, particularly in those later albums, like Wasteland, is particularly one of my favorites. It's actually my second favorite of your time with the band because it has a prog energy in a weird way to it, right?
Yeah.
And it has a very grown up sensibility. It's almost like Venom grew up and had a little for one day or two. It feels that way to me. It has the DNA of all your stuff, but it's got this because it's of all the lyrical content. Because I love your lyrics, by the way. Your lyrics are really important to me, and because I love lyrics, words are very important. And the lyrics on Wasteland, I could sit there and lose myself in the lyrics all the time because it's something different. Wonderful. Yeah, and musically, of course, it's right on point, as always would be with you guys. But I do see when people say, "Oh, it's not Welcome to Hell." Well, yeah, so
no, of course it's not.
So, but the Pistols, had the Pistols still been playing, I guarantee you they would not make 18. Never mind the bollockses.
No, they wouldn't. Exactly. That's the whole point, And compare that to early Judas Priest albums. Well, you can't say
Rock and Roller. It's completely different, right? Yeah.
It's not fucking Painkiller, is it?
No.
But there's the template,
Yeah.
and it's just indicative of everything, So it's a kind of false argument that people use, just to because again they feel they're being emotionally changed. And they don't want to lose that emotion and the connection they had to that music. And I totally understand that. But I think by the time you get to Wasteland, you're rather than just going around the same loop, talking about dirty women and how bad Satan is, you've got to look at, and for me, the storytelling arc was always there. A Red Light Fever, throwaway track, or Buried Alive. The experience of that person being buried alive. Okay, you're going to Raise the Dead, and you got Welcome to Hell and In League with Satan, of course, but that whole burial, that's a story, that's an experience, and you can link that to a Clarice or a Temples of Ice, which is more storytelling. And on the Wastelands, of course, Clarice appears and the Riddle of Steel, which is the Conan the story, about Thulsa Doom, and the Steel is Stronger, and. So, okay, it's about the movie, I guess, if you think about it that way, but it's also an analogy to go, the pen is mightier than the sword, but the sword is mightier than, what I mean? Than the flesh. Yeah. And the flesh is the thing that drives the pen. Yeah. So, you can't write the story if I chop your fucking arms off, was the idea. So, it's that kind of analogy of human nature. Crucified, the same thing. He's walking through 40 days and 40 nights, and he's sacrificing all this stuff, and they still kill him. So it's like, it's mankind's positional juxtaposition, of on the one hand, which always fascinates me, and that's the true evil spirit, if you like, to delineate between good and bad, is on the one hand, we can cause things like bat influenzas, which are going to kill the population and restrict their breathing. If we go to war, we can drop nuclear bombs so we can give 5 generations of Japanese cancer so that they don't want to go to war again. And in the same moment, we're looking for cures for cancers, and we're really proud when we find a way to stop a gonad cancer or fucking breast cancer, and we feel really proud of ourselves. So it's like, are we trying to save ourselves, or are we trying to kill ourselves? Which one are we fucking up to? Which one is the one? So, we're the most beautiful, wonderful, generous, kind, considerate, giving creature on the planet, at the same time as we're the most evil, horrific, murderous beast on the planet.
That ever walked the planet,
that ever walked the planet, and those two things together just blow my mind all the time. It's like how we can be like that. You could go to a supermarket, and there's a guy lying in the doorway, and you give him a book, and you go, mate, you come out with half a cup of coffee left, and go, you know what, you need this more than me. Here you go, bud. And then you get in your car, somebody cuts the back of your truck as you're trying to pull out the car park, and all of a sudden you're standing in the middle of the car park. You'd kill him if you had a gun, because he's being a twat, and you're shouting at each other. It's like you've just done one of the most amazing, generous things of your life, and now you're going to chin this stranger because he didn't see you or something. It's like, what are we doing?
You know what, Tone? It is fast, and that's what you can get in our medium, particularly in the heavy, like in the extreme and heavy metal genres. You can play in those wonderful light and dark shades in such a way, like with Wastelands. First time I heard it, I had to go and I researched it. This is So like just pre-internet crap, right? I had to go I had to go research it at the library to see what it was about.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, brilliant. Great. And then I'm looking at T.S. Eliot because it's the wasteland, and I'm doing all this stuff. And it really gave me a sense of more than just the album, which is what I really loved. Like, don't get me wrong, I like I'm a punk from way back as well. I like the force, the energy, the youthfulness. I love all that. But then sometimes I just want to go, teach me something, Tone. Teach me something. Tell me something different. And then I get that and I go, thank you, man. You know.
I think you know that. I mean, that's wonderful to hear that, because you know that's always where I've been at with trying to you know function where we're going and what are we doing and why are we doing this while we're doing that, and look towards us. You know I like the satanic. You know, I like the fact that that individuality and that oneness, that responsibility of ourselves on the planet, not you know, blaming something else just to get myself out of jail free. You know, take responsibility for yourself. And so that's my satanic, that's my Luciferian left-hand path. That's what I believe in. Be responsible. If you transgress, you know, that's wrong. So don't transgress. Try and be good. You know,
I agree.
If someone transgresses, then you can let go. That's fine. That's fine. It's okay to take an eye for an eye if that's how you feel.
Yeah.
But just respect people and carry on like that. And so, you know, again, that's part of that thing, which I still do today when I lyricize today, you know. Even, you know, on There's Only Black, the whole idea of that was to be 9. That was going to be 9, and it was going to be about the 9 circles of hell. It was our journey from birth to death and everything in between. And then the journey through those 9 circles to end up where we ended up. In hell or in heaven, I guess, or whatever you think is next. But then that was the idea. Is there only black? You know, it wasn't called Is There Only Black? It was There's Only Black, because that's what Jeff saw when he died. And he said, I only saw black. There's only black. And I was like, that's the title. And we wrote the song. But there's only black because that's all we see. You know, and if you do not see the light, you know, to use some kind of a paganistic or, you know, religious connotation. If you can't see the light, then what is there? Dark. And, you know, if all the lights went out in your house, you wouldn't find your way around. You know, blind people do. So how are they finding themselves? Because they're listening. You know, we don't listen. We just rely on our eyes and rely on the light. But once the light is gone, what is next? Well, if you have full vision and full senses, then you're lost. But if you're blind, you see more than just light.
It's amazing, isn't it? The senses take something over the others. The more primal senses take over right there.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a famous restaurant. There was one in Berlin and one in London. And we went there once, and it's in the dark.
Yes, I've heard about it.
Yeah. Now, the most weirdest experience is eating food with your hands in the dark, and you've got no idea what it is. And you know, they even gave us some wine, and all the way through at the end, you have to do a questionnaire. And the first thing I did was red wine. I love wine.
Yeah.
That was red wine, that's obvious. And it was white wine. And I was like, how is that white wine? That was not white wine. But you realize how much vision is part of your experience.
Yeah.
You know, you've already tasted the meal when they put it down in front of you. It looks great, so you know it's going to taste good. It looks like donkey poo. You know it's not going to taste good. You kind of already made that decision. And we do that with people. We do that with politics. We do that with judging people all the time. We're evaluating the world around us constantly. And while that's kind of good if you're walking down a dark alley and it's 4 a.m. and you shouldn't be in that part of the town and you need your wits about you. But while you're walking through a shopping centre evaluating people you don't know, maybe you're going to make a mistake, you know? So be open to everything and experience everything and be aware of everything and take the notes in, and then you can evaluate much easier, and you get through life a bit more happier, you know, because it doesn't take anything to be a total arsehole and a dickhead. And a dickhead and an arsehole doesn't have a religion or a colour or a fucking language or a country. They're just wankers. Yeah. But or a sex, you know, they're all just wankers. Yeah. But it's much easier not to be one, because then you're more fulfilling. You know, you can communicate more, you can connect more with people, and music is communicating. Music is that connection. You know, like I tell some young bands, I said, you know, I've listened to your stuff. It's really cool. And they put it out on the internet and they go, yeah, we'd like to do this and this and this. I said, yeah, everybody wants to be Metallica. I said, but just think of this. Somewhere on the planet, someone might be listening to this music in a country you've never heard of, in a town you've never heard of, in a village you've never heard of. And it could mean everything to them. And one day you may end up in front of that person where they get to tell you. When that happens, listen to them. Don't just fuck them off because you're a bit tired or you're a bit hungry or you can't be arsed. Listen to their story because you may mean everything to them. You might have saved them. And that's the power of the music.
Tone,
you know?
man, I have to say, man, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing because we all live in this internet world, right? Okay. Yeah. We all live in this connected world where any arsehole can say anything to you, to me, and they can do it with impunity because we can't go around the corner and smack them in the face, right? So the thing is, like, firstly, for the vision thing, I listen to music in several ways. So I'll listen to it first through, just in my day-to-day life, and then I go into a darkened room and I will go in complete black and put a blindfold on, so I've got no light at all, and then I'll listen to the album because with no vision, I have no distraction.
It's exactly how I do it, Tone. Exactly how I do it.
No distraction. And so I can hear everything. And I can hear every nuance. And you really drink. And then when you go and stand out into the daylight when you listen to it, suddenly those nuances are there that you completely opens up like a wine. It opens up because you let it breathe, right? Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is the best way to do it. But also with those arseholes, like I had one recently, a friend of mine's band. In fact, you did some stuff with them with Savage Master. And I've loved them since they first came about. I think they're that wonderful underground, you know, do what you want sense of rock and roll, which I don't care, and I really love it.
It's pure. It's just pure.
And I said I did a nice interview with them a week before, and I did some nice said some nice things online about their new video, and people just came in and were so vile.
Oh yeah.
And I did jump in and say something to them, and I said it in a very nice, professional way. You know, everyone has their own way. Are you a musician? Can you really make that comment? You know, these people are bearing their soul. You shouldn't say things like that. And they just came back at me even more even more. And honestly, literally, Tony, it was about 10 minutes before I came on interview. I was like, do I do this? Do I reply to this? Do I keep going down this loop? And I thought, I'm not going to. No. I'm not going to. No. I feel so sorry for the band. And when people say things about you, I feel so sorry because I love you stuff, man. I love you generally. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you don't have the right.
No, the thing is, they feel they have the right, and everybody has the right to do that. But as soon as you respond, which is what they want, respond, then that opens the door, and they just like the fact that they've got to you, you know. And it's down to what they're doing with their personal stuff. I mean, you know, I remember I came back from work once, and there was something we posted on it. I had to post on Instagram. Yeah. So I put it up on Instagram. I put a really positive note. First guy in there just went, "You're a fucking wanker. What a fucking you're a piece of shit." And I was like, "Wow!" And so I was like, "Listen,
do you know me?
I don't even know you. What's wrong with you?" Anyway, he threw all this stuff at me, which is usual for me. I've had it for 40 odd years, so you know, it bounces off anyway. Whatever, but it hasn't stopped me, and it won't change me. So, but anyway, so I was like. Anyway, so I went toe-to-toe with him, and I said, listen, you can say what I'll say what you can say what you want. It's fine, you know. I mean, I could find out where you live, and I could come, we can have a proper discussion, you know. But, you know, I lived in Texas, New Mexico, I think. Oh, New Mexico, not Texas, New Mexico. Ended up, we was living in a trailer park in New Mexico, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I'd said, I don't care that you're saying that. It's more about why are you saying that?
Yeah,
so
why?
what if you could explain to me what it is, we can discuss it but I just need to know why. What's prompting you? Anyway, he fucked me off and disappeared. Several days later, I think maybe a week later, he writes to me, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I went, "Oh fucking hell, what you come back?" I said, "What now? What did you forget to do? You didn't kick me in the shin hard enough." And he said, "I just wanted to say sorry." I said, "What for?" And he was like, "Well, for all that stuff." I said, "Mate," I said, "if you feel that, And, you know, I would rather you were honest with your emotion and not dishonest. So I said, if that's the way you felt, then I respect that. I said, all I wanted to know was why were you having a go when you don't know who I am and you were just, you know, flagrantly having a go. And he said, listen, I had a shit day at work. She's left me. I got home. I opened up my Instagram just to take my mind off things. And there were you going, hey, isn't life great? And haven't we doing this? And aren't we amazing?
So it's an emotional disconnect.
Fuck you. Yeah. So he just wanted to, Gan, you're a wanker, fuck off, leave me alone. So it wasn't about me at all. It was about his situation. And I was just the vessel which he could kick and scream at. And I think a lot of that goes on online. People feel frustrated, people feel angry, and they can't express themselves. And so they can go online and they're looking for someone to be happy, looking for someone to be positive about them doing something. And then they just let go because it makes them feel better. And it's like, right, okay, that's okay. If that's a mental assurance and that's some kind of therapy, then that's fine. But please explain that. You know, don't just have a go. There was two people arguing once on the Venom Inc. Fan page. And, you know, I'd observed it and they were like this really going at each other. And it wasn't particularly about this Venom, that Venom. It was more just having a go at each other.
Oh.
And so I stepped in and I went, listen, guys, just like, you know, this is not the place to be arguing and fighting. And I can't see why you started fighting anyway. But if you guys just like, and before I was explaining, the one person came in and said, who the fuck are you calling guys? Because they were transgender.
Oh,
and I said, what? And they said, you fucking homophobic piece of shit. And I was like, well, hang on. Why are you saying that? Because I'm transgender. I said, well, first of all, I had no idea you were. Secondly, I don't mean guys as in fucking guys and dolls. I just mean as in people, like, you know, generally.
Exactly. Hey, people. Yeah,
that's exactly. But they were looking for a reason to hate and to because maybe they'd had a lot of shit that day about their transgenderism or something like that. And, you know, the whole point that makes me more upset or more angry in situations like that is like, I couldn't give two fucks what you do like or don't like.
Exactly. I don't give a shit. Do what
you be you, however that is. And that's fine by me. And that's my whole ethos anyway. So to then be attacked for as if I'm trying to stop you, be disingenuous and stop you being you, it's like bollocks. It's just bollocks. So you have to evaluate why people are attacking and why, if there's value in it. And generally, there's not try and communicate with them and go, what is making you so pissed? What is making you so upset about this? And if they don't want to go that for a discussion, then that's fine. You know, blocking and deleting is a wonderful tool.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because I get it with my show. You know, you get people say, "Oh, you didn't do this," because I might got a bit of research wrong or something here or something there. I'm human, and they go, "Oh, this, that," and I go, "Well, look, you know, I do say that. Hey, man, are you doing this? Are you doing the show? Are you doing one? If you're not doing one, please don't criticize. You don't know how hard it is to do it, right?
Yeah.
So unless you
and it's all right to correct me.
Correct. That's what I say.
To give me the information.
Don't be rude.
Yes, exactly. You don't have to be rude about it.
Just tell me, hey, you got this wrong. I go, cheers, man. I'll correct it in the next step or whatever. You know.
Thank you so much. I didn't realize. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You know.
But you know what?
I think it's positional. You know, a lot of it's down to kind of jealousies or whatever, maybe frustrations within themselves. And like I say, you know, if you're brave enough, if you're generous enough to try and have those considerations and understand them, you know, I put them into the lyrics. We talk about that, burn, liar, burn, you know, all of that kind of stuff is, you know, Parasite. They're all about those kind of experiences where, you know, people are just looking to feed off you or looking to disparage you and to denounce you for no reasons other than their own life isn't particularly going the way they want.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is, and they still have a desire to go to that next step and feel that they've been burdened with not getting there, you know. I have people saying to me, I've been doing this for 10 years, I should be further on. I said, mate, I've been doing it for 40 years and I'm still trying.
Yeah.
You know, there is no timeline. There is no timeline.
There is no time.
It could happen tomorrow. It could happen next week. It may never happen.
Yeah.
But if it's what you're supposed to do, if you feel it's your destiny, you'll not stop. You just won't stop. You'll just keep doing it. But criticizing other people who may be doing better for whatever reason, you know, it's a pointless exercise because it doesn't mean anything, does it?
It doesn't.
At
No.
the end of the day, you know, you could
It's
say
just jealousy. It's petty jealousy. It's all it is. Yeah.
well, yeah, you know, I don't, you know, we write great stuff. I can't understand why Ghost or XYZ. It's like, right, so you can go on their page every time they release something and tell them they suck and you don't get why everybody's going to see them. But it's not going to stop people going to see them. It's not going to stop them making music.
Yeah.
And so if it's about you thinking you're better, then you do what they do, just focus on that. You know, like Nurgle from Behemoth, he had a 5-year plan, and he stuck to his 5-year plan. And so, you know,
look at him now. Yeah.
Exactly. You could say what you want, but he had his plan. He stuck to his plan. He stuck to his guns, and he's got to the end of the road there, as far as that goes. So just do that. Give yourself a plan. You know, beating yourself, because beating somebody else with the bush. Because they're doing what you want to be doing or you wish you were doing, isn't going to help you to do it.
No.
You're just going to make yourself feel worse because that person's still going to do it next week and you're still not doing it.
Yeah.
So just go and do it. There's nobody.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you deprive the world of what you might be doing. You deprive the world of things like Parasite and Black Under the Priest because, oh no, why bother? Like,
yeah,
why should I bother?
It's like, well, yeah, that's like going, you know, I don't like the color of that ice cream, so I won't try it. Might be your favorite ice cream in the whole world, and you'll never know because you refuse to put it in your mouth because it's the wrong color. It's like, well, that makes no sense, does it? It really makes no sense.
It's like, don't you think though that you and I come from the punk explosion, more so you because I'm a little bit younger, but my brother's the same age as you, and I've got a few older brothers, and that whole punk explosion all the way up the country in the UK, back and forth. Don't you think that when you think back to there, how there was so much more artistic freedom? Yeah. You could do, there was no racism, apart from obviously some of the horrible side shoots, but, you know, females were in, it was, come on, let's do this, you know, polystyrene and the slits, and, you know, and there was a sort of, you could turn up in a woman's dress and a wig, and no one's going to look at you and go, what are you doing? They just go, crazy, man. Let's get on with it.
They'd all still spit on you and jump around, kick.
That's exactly right. But the energy was there and it wasn't negative. And I feel sometimes that there is a loss since as punk is diluted away.
Yeah, I think it become kind of rock star syndrome. You know, I mean, I suppose, you know, pre that you think of the arena rock bands, you know, you had your Purples and Zeppelins and all of that kind of stuff, you know, all your Speedwagons. It was arena rock. So there were these huge bands. They all had jumbo jets and more money and wealth than you could, you know, because record sales and huge advances from record labels and huge amounts of money coming in. And then the punk scene was a DIY on the ground. I can't play the guitar very well. I can't sing very well, but I've got something to say. So it was a youth movement, and it inspired more youth to go, oh, right, so I don't have to be Jimmy Page. I can be George Summer. And I don't have to be Robert Plant. I can just be, you know, Charlie Harper and just shout. And so it was like, as long as I can express myself, I can do this. And we didn't judge. It was like, if you want to get on stage and you want to fucking give it a kick in, then give it a kick in. Great. And I think that's what kind of happened for the new wave of British heavy metal in a way, but certainly with Venom more than that, because the new wave became kind of industry. I mean, the new wave was independent, but, you know, out of that, you had the Girl Screws and the Saxons and the Iron Maidens and the Motorheads. So industry started taking notice that you could sell this product if it was commercial. And then Venom were like the Sex Pistols of that. They kicked in the wall, threw everything down the stairs,
chainsaws through doors
themselves. And you know, and they get credit for a lot of stuff. And I think more so than the influence on the music side, I think the reason they should get the credit is because they managed to punch a hole in the corporate wall of music when everybody else was trying to. And all the independent sense, you know, you had the John Suzulas, the Martin Hooker Music Foundations, London Records, Brian Slager with Metal Blade. They all popped up after Neat Records and went, oh, we can have an independent record label, Heavy Metal Records, and we can actually create our own industry. And so you had that subgenre of an industry, and now they call it an underground because it's not corporate controlled, you know. But how is Napalm Records underground. Fucking
I
hell,
know. Tell me about it.
Or Nuclear Blast, or fucking Seasons of the Mist, or fucking, the King Diamond on Metal Blade is the next Aussie, so that's hardly underground.
I know.
But they still keep using those terms because they can't capitalize on that industry, because it's made up of individuals. It's not homogenized. There's a freedom in the sport, in the entity of the creativity, you know, and the genres, you know. So there's too many genres, so they don't understand half of them. You know, they don't know the difference between death metal, black metal, grindcore. They're like, what the fuck? I don't know what's going on.
It's all noise to me. They're thinking, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But it's so interesting. I honestly, saying that Venom is the Sex Pistols to metal is such. I never thought of it. That is a brilliant way of putting it, Tone. Like, I'm going to use that because that is a. I never thought of it that way, because extreme. That's why I so love extreme. I love all metal, but I love extreme metal a lot because it has that wild frontier that the punk had. It has that wild frontier that anything will happen. You know, anything is go. Anything will happen. There's no, hey, we can't play this 12-minute bass solo on this thing. Oh yes, we can. Why can't we?
You can.
Like,
who said you can't?
You can't, right? I'm going to do it. So
I even used to do that tone on stage. I would go on stage and say, "There's one rule tonight." There's no rules, and then just do what I want, you know. And we had the police trying to get us off stage. They shut the power off. They put the lights out, and I still stayed on stage and kept going. And it's like, you know. And when we do shows, our TM would go, just laugh and go. They go like, so, you know, you're doing an hour and a half, and he'd just laugh and go. He'll go until he gets off stage, you know. And it's like, and it would always have the set times for everybody. And for Venom Inc, it says Venom Inc when we start, and it just has 2 ends, because they're going, well, we just end where. And you know, we did a show in Albuquerque, and at the same time, Pentagram were up the road doing a show.
Oh, how great. And, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and people came to our show and they said, oh, we're going to pop up and see Pentagram. So we're going to watch you guys and then go up and see them, try and get both in. And some people went up to see Pentagram and said, we're going to watch a bit of them and then come down to see you guys. And at the end of the show, all the people who'd said they were going up to Pentagram were there. And I said, oh, were we that good? You didn't bother going and seeing Pentagram? They went, no, we went up there, but the sound wasn't so good. But they only played like 50 minutes or something. We came back and you guys were still fucking playing. And I said, well, we got a lot of songs to play. And, you know, Conrad did the same thing. Went to South America, was doing 45, 50-minute sets or whatever it was. We were with Possessed. We were like an hour and 45 or something. And even then I was pushing the boundary. And we went to Poland and Rock. So we go to Poland and Rock, which is like the Polish Woodstock. We were doing Romania. And then I got a call and they said, oh, Sick of It All have pulled out of Poland and Rock. They were going to open the main stage. And they wondered, would you guys want to come and do that? And I was like, okay, when is it? 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, okay, how long have we got? 50 minutes. I was like, okay, when is it? They went, tomorrow. I was like, fucking hell. What, after we do this? Yeah, well, how are we going to get there? They said, well, we've arranged a flight. So when you finish the show here in Romania, Transylvania, you have to go straight to the airport, which was a 5-hour ride.
Oh, my God.
Get on the first plane, arrive in Warsaw, then a van will pick you up. You've got 5 hours to get down to the site. And then basically you'll have about 45 minutes before you go on stage.
Oh, my God.
And then after you finish, you've got to get straight back in the van because we've got to get you back to Warsaw. And I was like, okay, why not? And I said to the guys, I said, listen, I've said yes to this. I don't know why. And they were like, fantastic. And I was like, oh, shit, okay, right, let's do it. So we did. So we had 50 minutes. Opening this thing was 500,000 people there in the end. 500,000 people. They were coming in as we started.
Wow.
And by the time we finished, there was 500,000 people. You could just a sea of them. But we did 50 minutes. And they said at the end of the show, the owner does a traditional thing. He comes on stage, invites everybody to the open festival, thanks you, and then sings a song to thank you. And then that's the end of it. Okay. So 50 minutes, we come off stage, and the crew and all technical staff are going, yeah, play some more. What? They went, play some more. I said, right, so your boss is coming on. No, just play a few more songs. What? So we went on, did 2 more songs. The guy didn't show up. So then I come off. I said, is your boss going to come on? Yeah, play another one. I said, well, is he coming on? They went, just play another song. So we go on and play again. Then he comes on. And then when he thanks us, he says, and they're going to play one more song. So we had 50 minutes and we came off after about an hour and 50. So we did like twice as much. and they were just so grateful. And it was organic, it was real, it was just not contrived, and it was just plug and play. We were tired, we'd just come off a set. This was a last minute thing. But those things are why we do it, you know, and that is the spontaneity of the music. And you know, it's great to have everything worked out and all of your trucks and all of your lights and all of the la, and that's amazing. And everybody wants to do Madison Square Garden or Close Vacuum. And that's the easy bit, because you have the money, you have the technicians, you have the pyrotechnics, you have the lighting, and you're just going to play your songs on a set. That's fantastic. But if you can go into a situation like that where you've had no sleep, no food, you're tired, you've just done another show, and you can still kick ass for 2 hours, and turn the audience around. That's the beauty of it.
It's a flavour of rock and roll.
Yes, I'm not saying that makes us better than anybody else. It doesn't, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that's when it becomes real for you as a musician, and that's when it becomes beautiful, because you're just in it to play the music, and that's what's wonderful, you know.
And that 500 million people, they're all going to remember it. That 500,000 people, sorry, they're all going to remember it. They're all going to be do you remember when they come on, off, on and off and off and off? Is this more? And then you're going to go.
We had literally thousands of people saying, I'd never heard of your band. I'm not even into metal. That was amazing. That was the best thing I've ever seen. You know, it's just like because of we just performed, you know, and so if that means that they may go out and buy fucking, I don't know, a Septic Flesh album, fantastic.
Yeah. Good on them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If they end up going seeing Kronos, fantastic. If they buy all the Venom catalog, amazing. It's like, you know, it's about, you know, it seems like it's a huge industry across the planet, but we all know each other, and it's much smaller than you think. And if you look at the top 10 bands, you'll see the same bands. And if you look at the top 10 albums, you'll see the same albums that we've always seen. And there may be some new ones coming in, some new bands, of course, but you know, we're very aware of the same bands all the time, bearing the flag for our type of music. And so it's a hand-in-hand operation. And if you inspire somebody to listen to more than just you, or to listen to metal who's never done it before because they had a misconception, because they've been coaxed into what it's supposed to be, this dissidential, you know, drug-laden, sexual, tattooed, but, you know, which is great, and I love that bit.
Same here.
Yeah, but, you know, if you can bypass all that, and then they turn onto a Napalm Death or something like that and go, holy shit, Carcass, and go, oh my God, I didn't realize this was here. Wow, you've just opened a floodgate for them, and that's beautiful, and that's the intention.
It is. And I can't believe you could make that kind of music. Like, I remember there's a band called Animals as Leaders, right? You know, and everyone thinks that all heavy metal is just brutal. It's just brutal. And they don't understand there's a beautiful melody in there. They don't understand that there is tonality in there. There is conceptual and modes and all this sort of stuff. And then I remember walking into a tent at a festival. I had never really seen or heard of Animals Leaders. Walked in, and I was just like, oh my God, these guys are like, it was like jazz fusion metal. I was like completely drawn into it in a way that and I'm not usually into instrumental music. I like vocals and singers. I was drawn to it, and then I opened a whole new world to me. Right? I opened a whole new world. Like, I was just last night in Sydney. I was seeing the Aristocrats, brilliant band, right? I was like, whole new world.
But it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like you can stand in front of Yngwie Malmsteen, who's playing, you know, 150 notes in a phrase at a rapid pace and a scallop guitar, or you can listen to Dave Gilmour plod his way through 5 or 6 notes on a Pink Floyd number and feel just as good about yourself.
You can.
And I love those colours. I love that. You know, I mean, you know, Kerry King, not known as a guitar soloist, but when generally wasn't. But it's like, hang on. I mean, they did an Iron Maiden cover a few weeks ago, and it was the best one I've ever heard. And I thought, fucking hell, and he was wailing away. Because I didn't even understand at the time. He wasn't playing straight pentatonics. He was playing something like Mixolydian or something.
Oh, really?
So his scaling was not a standard scaling that you were used to listening to, hence his solo not sounding like you were so conditioned to hear. And once you kind of tuned into that, you were like, oh, right, now I get what he was doing. But can he play guitar? Well, he fucking did a great job of the Iron Maiden song, so of course he can. You know, he was going to be in Megadeth, so of course he can.
Of course he can.
It's like, but in Slayer, this is what that is, and it's
what the sound you need for it. Yeah.
That's the sound it needs, and, you know, and it's those same things, you know. I mean, I think that's what I love about this is, like, you know, like you were saying before, you can explore and you can dig a little bit and enlighten yourself to why this sounds that way. And, you know, by saying, you know, generally go like, well, I hate extreme music because it's all just fucking noise. And then, you know, being introduced to something that isn't, but is extreme. And then you go, oh, hang on a second, that doesn't sound like, you know, X, Y, Z. It's like, it's not all like that. It depends on what is happening. It depends on the compositions, depends on the album. I mean, Opus, you could say Opus were part of the extreme movement, but listen to the new Opus album. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. Progressive black metal or whatever it's. I mean, it's just incredible, you know. And Mayhem, you know, Mayhem, one of my favorite bands now. And I never thought about Mayhem before, and I was like, oh, just some subgenres kind of. Yeah. And I fell in love with them after listening to the first album and Death Crush and you know, now they're one of my favorite bands, and every time I hear them, it's like, oh, I've got to listen to everything. You know, because I didn't get it, because I wasn't given it time. You know, I wasn't given it space. You've got to give it time. Got to breathe. You have to. Yeah.
One of my favorite guitarists in all the world is Geordie from Killing Joke, right? So I'm a massive Killing Joke fan, and I came into extreme music really through them. Like, truly, their first album is more extreme than anything produced. And you know, and Jazz is just like they're all of them, Youth, Jazz, Big Paul Ferguson, and people go to me, oh, that's just noise, you know. Okay, really? Are you? Listen to the weight. Just give yourself a moment and listen to the weight. And just give yourself and see just give it a moment, and they go, oh yeah, man, these are. And I was watching a documentary about him playing guitar, and he plays these really strange jazz chords. Yeah, these really weird. He doesn't do any soloing at all. There's no soloing in his work. No, but you go, what?
You don't need it. You don't need it.
I don't need it. I don't miss it. I just want to hear more of that kind of strange dissonant, fuzzy tones that he brings through his Gibson, and it's just like that.
Again, Sean, that's another point. It's like you said, you know, the exercise that we said, where I do the same as you. I put the lights out, I put the headphones on, and I keep it all dark. So I'm just in that music. And you hear all that resonance. You hear all those little things. And, you know, I fell in love with Garbage
Great band.
Doing that first album. I was like, oh my, there was so much going on. I just thought, wow, this soundscape of this is amazing. You know, when you think of, you know, to go, it's just noise and stuff like that, you know, with on a black metal genre type of thing, it's like, you know, when you listen to a Quartz Horn Battery, that was all soundscaping. That's just as, that's like listening to a Tchaikovsky or a Chopin or, you know, the Four Seasons,
Beethoven,
you know. Yeah. It's just soundscaping, and you see the fjords and you see the Valkyrie.
Yes,
and
you feel the cold.
You feel the cold, and that's why I loved Immortal. You know, it's like
what a band.
I was always up a mountainside in knee-deep snow, freezing me nuts off in a forest. You know, when I listened to Immortal, and it involves those images, you know. And if you're listening, like you say, if you're listening to it in daylight on the radio and you're driving somewhere, you could go, what the fuck, you know, because it's just more noise coming at you. But if you just take yourself away, put yourself in a dark room, put it on and just let it happen, all of a sudden you start to see the colors.
You do. Exactly. It becomes a rainbow. Like I often do that in a hot bath. Sit in a hot bath, dark, headphone, and you're so relaxed that the minutiae of the most extreme minutia, like Def, for instance. Def. Those albums are on a different level, right? And when you sit and you're listening, Chuck is like, and you're listening to that. It's sort of there's a beauty in it, Tone. There's a beauty in it that people don't want to admit. They don't want to admit there's a beauty in it. They don't want to say it. Like they say, it's too heavy, but like it's a beauty.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you look at the impressionism, in an art sense, I mean, you're coming from classic arts, with Stubbs and Reynolds and Gainsborough and Constable and all of those great masters. And then you have impressionism or modernism, and all of a sudden it's like, what the fuck's going on, And now you have like modern art. It's like, I don't even know what that's supposed to look like. And I went to see something at the Tate. Excuse me. Something at the Tate, and it was a whole series of paintings called The Trees, and I was like, what the fuck? And it was just like simple colors and a couple of lines, and I was like, this is the kind of bollocks I don't understand. And he'd done a whole progression. And what he'd done is he'd started with the single color, and
through the
he'd worked through the paintings back to an actual the tree he'd painted, and you're coming the wrong way around to actually get concept. Open up my whole mind, and I was like, oh fuck, now I got it, I get this. And so when you then approach art like that, they're thinking outside the box. They're thinking outside the box. Yeah. And I think that's what happens with the music as well, It's very easy to blanket and just go, I don't get it. But if you allow yourself time to maybe explore it a bit more, you will get it. You will understand. Maybe some things you won't. That's fair enough too. Yeah. But not everything is the thing. It's like if someone goes, I hate, someone said to me, fucking Americans. And I said, hang on, which Americans? They went, Americans. And I was
you can't be that upset. You can't.
Said, well, what do you mean? I've got friends in America. I love America. I've got great friends. So which ones are you talking about? Oh, I met these ones. Oh, those ones. I said, right, those ones. I said, but that's like saying Russians or English or Australians or whatever. I said, not all of them, just the ones you met.
You've met, exactly. Don't be that.
That's just what happens. I'm sure even if you go there's Americans who will say that that guy's a dickhead.
All those bloody English, all the same. Yeah.
Take yourself out of that concept of just going that music or that art style or those people or whatever it is. It's not all the same, and you have to explore that. And then once you do that, you'll see there's things you like and there's things you don't like, and that's fine. You don't have to like everything, but choice is what's amazing, and it's also the reason of doing. The Venom Inc. thing and doing the new box set and the whole My Period and the book. The English translation's coming out, and I've added a chapter to it because we've got all kinds of stuff going on over the last year, so I've added a new chapter to it.
Oh, exciting!
But all of that stuff, and it's about going. When people go, well, why would you play all Venom songs if you're on tour? And I said, well, I've been playing them for 36 years. I did front the band for that long, and I was playing those songs, and I have recorded them all. So I guess I'm just playing them because fans want to hear them, and they asked to hear them. And I wasn't on those albums, but I've been playing them for 36 years, so I think that's okay. And if a fan wants to hear it, and I'm in front of them, and if I don't play it to them, they'll never hear it live. I think it's my duty to do it.
Mate, Bruce does the first album, Maiden.
Of course.
Like, come on. So, gosh.
Exactly. Right? And it's like, listen, it's the fans want to hear that. It's like what Brian Johnson doesn't sing any Bon Scott stuff.
Well, of course he does. Of course he does.
It's part of the identity. And at the end of the day, it's not about an individual's ego. It's about the fans wanting to partake in it. And that's fine. If you don't want me to do it, I won't do it. Then make sure the band goes and plays for these people. But if the band's not going to go and play for these people, then I'm going to play it if I want to in part of my set.
Exactly.
But again, it's about fans' choice. But I think in all of those cases, it's about keeping that door open and keeping that music open and keeping the fans so they have access to that, because at the end of the day, that's the whole point. The whole point is not to record an album, stick it under your bed, and never play it again. The whole point is not to get people to buy your album, buy your T-shirts, buy all into your shit, and then never play in front of them. What?
I know.
That's not how it works.
And honestly, Tone, like, sorry, because we're coming to the end of it, but I want to say Ave is like, when you came and played that in Canberra for us, and I felt like it was for me. It's always like when I'm at the front of the stage, it always feels like it's for me. I was like a kid in a candy shop, man. I didn't know where to look. It was like there was Mantis, who's been one of my guitar heroes ever since I was a young boy, like inches away from me. I was touching his guitar. I was like, oh my God. And then there's you towering over me and I was like, this is just, I feel 15 again.
Yeah.
And well, it was just wonderful, man.
That's the experience we've had all the way through. This is like the 10-year mark now for Venom Inc.
Is it really 10 years? Wow.
10 years, yeah. And,
it was like yesterday. It feels like yesterday.
Yeah, I know. And it's I got 2 new live albums going out, an EP I'm working on, and then the new album to follow.
Oh, Tone, I can't wait.
Lots of stuff going on. Australia is going to be the end of the year. Asia Wonderful. And Australia. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But on the tours we've just done in this whole last season for 18 months, we've had a point where there was a guy who was 56, and there was a kid next to him who was 15.
Yeah.
And it was an all ages show, and they both wanted to talk. And I came up, started talking to him. The kid was shaking. I could see he was nervous, but he was just standing there staring at me. The guy was nervous. I could see him shaking as I shook his hand. And he said, when I don't know what to say, but man, you made me feel 15 again. I said, this kid is 15. Yeah. He feels 15 and you felt 15. I said, and he'll be you one day and he'll remember this moment just like you did when you were 15. And that's why we're here. So regardless of the naysayers or the anti or the protesting or the propaganda, that's why we're doing it. So we can make that 15 feel 15 when he's 50.
Tone, you'll make me feel 15 all the time, mate. I genuinely like. When I go and put your records on and whether I'm in the dark or if I'm walking around or if I'm doing something, there's not a moment where I suddenly go, God, I'm 50 fucking something. Like I go, because people say to me, I get it all the time, why didn't you grow up? You always wearing band shirts, you were just in black.
I know, you go like, what do you mean? It's not a phase.
I am growing up, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
I am grown up, mate. What are you talking about? Like,
I know. It's one of the things that go, it's just a phase you're going through. You'll grow out of that. It's going, this is not a phase you grow out of. This is who you are. It's part of your identity.
It's in my DNA, mate.
Yeah, exactly. And it is one of those things. It's like, and when people go like, I don't see how you can, at 61, how do you get the energy to do that? And I said, well, before I go on stage, I feel like I'm, 61. When I get on stage, I feel like I'm 18. When I come off, I feel like I'm 91. That's the arc. That's the arc,
right? Yeah. That's the truth, though, because but isn't it like any great endeavor? You want to sit back and go, I'm empty.
Yeah,
I'm empty.
Yeah, you
right?
have to. Ton, you have to. With this, it's like I said, this is not a fucking cabaret band. This isn't Bon Jovi. This isn't Toto. You might think, oh, God, yeah, we're like the Deep Purple of... No, you're not. It was about bludgeoning, who gives a fuck, saying what you wanted to say, where you wanted to say it, upsetting as much as you could, and kicking the door down. Yep. And you can't sit there and say, yeah, Venom's like a brick. You throw it one and it boom and it's splashed, and you pick it up and throw it the next time and we leave it trace behind, we don't care. And then 40 years later going, yes, well, actually, we wanted to do a really considered approach to this musical. It's like, oh, fuck off. That's not what people want from it. Those kids... maybe the older fans who followed you all the way through are a bit more considered now, but those young fans who have, Welcome to Hell and their fingers are through the fucking plastic, they've listened to it that many times, and they're like 17, 18, they want that. They want you to do that. They want you to come in, grab whoever it is by the throat, shake them until the hat falls off and throw them to the floor and leave. That's what they want.
Exactly.
And they should have that, because each generation needs a voice. They need to scream. And what I tell them is, you fucking scream, mate. You just scream. You scream at whoever you want to scream at. And if you come to our show, you let go. You can be who you want. Mate. You can let go. And then hopefully that will inspire you to do something positive when you go out.
I always lose about
be doing.
I always lose about a kilo at a gig. I never come out and go, oh yeah, I feel great. I'm like, oh my God, I'm fucked my neck for about a week. Constant headaches, and you go, I've been doing this for my whole life. I still can't, it still hurts me, man. Like,
still can't get a hand on it. But look at Tom Araya, he had to quit because of his freaking neck fusing because of all that headbanging.
Exactly, right? So,
a work injury. I mean, I used to go and my old man was my parents split up, and I'd go and see my old man when I used to go to every punk show I could possibly go to.
Yeah.
You know, like from like 15 or 14, 15.
Yeah.
And, you know, the kids would all be like 21-year-old skinhead, 6 foot something, kicking the crap out of me. And I'd go and see him on a Sunday to have like a couple of pints and maybe Sunday lunch. And he'd go, "You been fighting again?" I go, "No, I went to a gig." And he'd be like, "Don't be so stupid. What kind of gig makes your face look like that?" I went, "It was a punk gig." He said, "Well, what were you, who was hitting you?" I said, "Well, no, we were just dancing." He was like, "Dancing?" I was like, that's how we danced, you know. So
it was, man, and that's what I love about the energy.
So expressive, yeah.
I love all music. You know, I'll listen to anything, but there is this, But there is that fire, that energy, that through punk, which you bring in, and that's the thing, which you bring into your music. It's an educated. Your music, for me, particularly later, your music is mature. It's more educated. It's more. Grown up, if that's a horrible word to say, right? More studied, but in the center of it, if you look into the heart of it and you sit in that dark room and you look into the core, it burns really bright. It is fast and heavy and bright, and it draws you, it gives you a sense of well-being, openness.
So. Yes, good. Well, thank you. I mean, that's amazing, Tone, and that's my whole point. That's our whole point of existence with this, is to do that, to inspire, to keep that fire burning, to keep it real. And like I say, you know, you can't go and paint by numbers with this kind of stuff. No. It has to be real. So when you're singing those lyrics on stage, regardless of whether I wrote them or I didn't write them, if it's Poison, you know, I'm speaking from a first-person vernacular.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I remember, you know, trying to do a Judas Priest song. We did a Judas Priest song when we were Empire of Evil. We did an EP. We picked some songs. We picked a Kiss song, a Judas Priest song, a Motorhead, obviously, and then AC/DC.
Yeah.
Motorhead, you know, you got to try and justify the Lemmy sound, and the great. Kiss, okay, it's Kiss, so you got to make sure it's buoyant and it's you know, fits the Judas Priest. Well, I'm not a falsetto, so you got Rob Halford for a start. So you know, but the hardest thing to do was the AC/DC. Hell in a Bad Place to Be. Why?
Yeah.
Because Bon Scott sung from experience. He wasn't just writing a pretty lyrics to a song about. He sung from experience.
Yes.
So that was so hard to do, because unless you're living that, you can't mimic that.
No,
you know, he knew Rosie. You know, Rosie had a pub in Tasmania. He knew her. When you sing a whole lot of Rosie,
it's my favorite track of theirs. It is my favorite.
You can sing the words, but Bon was telling you a story. And so that's what I have to do when I do versions of the old stuff for me for Venom. I have to sing from my perspective. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just fake. And it can't be fake. This can't be fake. You can't fake it. No. If you do fake it, you should stop. So it has to be real.
Exactly. I just want to let you know, like, a little inside joke for me, right? For my whole adult life, whole life, if there's a girl comes past that I really like, I'd go, "That's a whole lot of Rosie." And no one in my friends group would go, they'd go, "Well," I go, "That's a whole lot of Rosie," like this, and they're like, and you have to explain it to them, and when you explain, they go, "Oh yeah," like, and it just permeates in your life, right? These little terms, you know, these little things, you know.
Completely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you listen, one of the epitomes for me is "A Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll." Yeah. That song is about every single band. That's the Spinal Tap of music. If you're looking at being able to relate to something, you know, when every heavy metal band watched Spinal Tap and went, "That's us. That's about us." Yeah, everybody said it because it was so well observed. Yes. And I think "It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll" is exactly what everybody goes through. You know, the vans, the getting beaten up, one night stands, the whole thing.
Sleeping in cars. Yeah. That's it. Yes.
And the whole point behind it is what I try to tell to younger people who want to do this for a career is first find out if it's who you are, because there'll be points where you will have no sleep, you'll have no food, you'll have no money, you'll have no girlfriend, you'll have no family,
and you've got to survive.
And and you'll just want to give up. But the people who don't give up are the people who succeed. The people who give up are the people who fail. You know, that doesn't mean to say you haven't succeeded by doing it. But what I mean is, if you want to become Metallica, you have to understand that Metallica, Slayer, all those bands, toured for years, slept on floors, slept in the back of vans, carried their own gear for years before they got through. But now you see the riches of that and their adoration from their fans and the size of the band. But you can't get there. There's no shortcut.
No.
It's not harder now than it was in the old days, like Gene Simmons and all those like to say. Yes, of course, because they're sitting on a pile of richness and they can look down now. But it's no harder now than it was then. It's no easier now than it was then. It's just the same. And you have to discover if it's who you are or just what you like to do. And so if it's who you are, you'll do it regardless of anything else. And you'll keep doing it until you can't do it anymore. And if it's just what you like to do, you'll do it in comfort of your own house, in the comfort of your own life, at a weekend, when it suits you, when it fits the family entertainment, when it fits everything. And once you know who you are, you can still play music, but one might put you on the path to infamy. One might not.
But Tone,
so decide
honestly,
which one you want.
That is the most beautiful way to. That is a beautiful thing to say. It's what I love about you, Tone. Honestly, generally, is that you are so real. It's been a genuine pleasure knowing you. It really has. And
well, thanks, T.
And it, when you first get to talk to your heroes, you do worry. There's a bit in your mind. You go, God, I hope they'll, they're great.
Not a twat.
Not a twat. And I won't name names, but I've met some and talked to some and gone, oh dear. So when I read Ian Jury's biography, I wish I had. I wish I hadn't. I really wish I hadn't.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, right, well, okay, he was a bit of a, and I'm like, oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I love Ian Jury so very, very much.
Oh, me too.
I grew up around Kilburn, near Kilburn, so, Kilburn and the high roads.
I worked at the Royal Shakespeare Company, and he did a play with Bono. He did a play. Yeah, and he was at the RSC, and people were going, oh, Ian Jury's in, and I was like, fuck. And I had to, and trying to talk to him and spend time with him, I was so disappointed because I wanted to love him so much.
Yes.
And I just thought it's very awkward, very awkward.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? And it hurt me. It was a bit like a Hugh Cornwell. I met Hugh Cornwell on the same thing, did that to me. And I was like, oh no, really?
Yeah.
And so.
When you love him so much.
You love him so much. And he was like, please don't ruin that, break that. But you, man, we've rabbited on for ages, and I love it. That you just have this real humanity to you, which comes across in your music. You're very grounded, and I think that's why Ave and There's Only Black and all the albums you've ever done are going to have a soul to them because you're grounded. And
well, that's very nice. Thank you so much for that.
You've got a big heart, mate.
There's people who don't like me just because they don't like me, but that's how it is, most of the time they're people who haven't met me, and a lot of the time they're people who I've decided not to just keep being generous to, or when they've transgressed, and I just I've call that in. But that's as much as being real as anything else, I'm not fake. I am who I am. I was way back, and I've never changed who I am. And so, I'm not one of those people who go, well, I say what I think, and I don't give a shit what you do, whether you like it or not. It's like, yeah, I do. I am considerate, and I do want to please, and I do want to appease, and I do want to be empathetic and sympathetic, and I do have morals, and I do have my ethics. I do have my own beliefs, and I respect your beliefs and your thing. I don't want to transgress. You do whatever you want to do. I'll be as generous as I can, but there's points where I have to think of myself as also, and people like to take away all the time, and it's fine while you're giving, but as soon as you go, right, I'm not going to give anymore, then you're a wanker. So I get all that kind of
absolutely.
Stuff too. But you can't change who you are, and you shouldn't have to defend who you are. It's up to them to and that's fine. It's like I say, you can have 100 people. You're having an argument on your internet about your latest program with 100 people. It's like, there's not even 100 people live in my street. There's probably 17 times more than that. So on a world scale, I'm like, why do I want to be arguing with 100 people when there's 63 million people just in England?
Yes.
And I haven't left England yet. So it's like, think in larger terms.
But what people don't realise about you, and we'll wrap it up in a minute, but what people don't realise about you, Tone, is that you're also very generous in your giving. People don't realise what you did during the COVID with Sabatonero. the money that you raised for the children that had nothing, from families that had lost so much during that period. You don't shout about it. You don't write. You don't go on big. Look at me. I'm a saint. You just did it and did it in your own way, and that really that was something I felt very very in awe of, because it wasn't about hey, I'm doing this because it makes me look good and you're going to buy my records.
No,
it was I'm doing this because I can give back, because I'm in a position to do this. And
yes, I mean that's what it's about. Every year I would do a charity auction.
Yeah.
Of like even my old guitars. And,
yes, I remember. I was trying to get one.
Right. Well, I would do that, and that was for the local food bank. Because
at the
kids,
food bank, exactly,
for Christmas. The coronavirus thing for Brazil. I was part of all of that thing, and it was great. For me, is it was about my. I got to do something to help people. Which I liked, and they were community driven. But also I got to play with musicians I really loved.
It was a brilliant
songs
album,
I really loved.
Yeah.
So beyond that, it was like, well, what kind of recognition do you need? It's like I don't need blabbermouth to go, Tony Dolan's doing blah blah blah. If it made more sales, then great, because the more money would be better. But you do things because you want to.
Yeah.
You don't do things because you want to get something back.
No, thanks, Tone. Yes.
Yeah.
We are blood brothers, my friend. Because
if you do something generous because you want to be paid back, then you've got it all wrong.
Karma's going to come and kick you in the ass. Yeah.
You'll only be let down. Be let down. Whereas if you do it just because you want to, you will get stuff back, and you'll be surprised by that, and you'll be humbled by that. And so that's that mandate again. It's again part of the ethos, this satanic or the Luciferian in my have the left hand is just to, if you can, then do. And that's relating again to close out what I said about the music. And if I'm playing everything off my period and everything from Venom Inc. And then I throw in a couple of old classics that people wanted to hear. It's like, well, if they really go, Don't Burn the Witch is my favorite Venom song ever in the world, and you're right here, and if you don't play it, when can I ever hear it live? And I can play it. Why shouldn't I play it? Why shouldn't I play it? They want to hear it. They want me to play it, and I can play it. So I will play it. I won't walk away and leave them, waiting. It's the same thing. I haven't eaten. I haven't slept. We've just done 56 hours traveling. Or whatever. We've got no time. I've got to get all my stuff together, and I've got to get away. I turn up at a hotel, and there's two guys there, and they've just spent 2 days driving the whole length of Chile to get there. And this is the only moment they can see me to get an autograph. And I say, sorry, mate, I'm fucking too. Sorry. I can't do that.
No.
I can't do that.
No.
It's like fucking hell.
Yeah.
No.
So I floated off the floor. When you did In Nomine Satanas, I was like, oh, well, I might just sort of go around. I think I'm done. I am done. That's great. Because it's not something I'd ever in my whole life, Tony, ever thought I'd hear live. Never in my whole life. Because, in Australia, and you just think, I'm never going to get that. And then it happened, and it was just like.
And that was the whole point. The whole point that we did the run with Danzig, and I put Lady Lust in, Dead of the Night in. We had Manitou, because people they're never going to hear those songs. Kronos was never going to play them. You'll never see Abaddon in America again. You'll never see Mantis in America again to play them. So it's like, well, if we can do them while we're here, let's do them. Let's give people something they never thought they would hear.
It's wonderful.
Every song from Welcome to Hell, regardless, and all the singles and the B-sides. It's like, there's such a cornucopia of music history there. And it shouldn't be down to an individual to decide what fans get to hear. They bought all that music. It's out there. And if you're there, why can't they hear it? Why can't they hear it? Because you can't be bothered to play it, or you don't want to play too long, or you decide to only play your new album stuff. It's like, I think you owe them the music that's bought you the ticket to come to that place.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I live in a fantasy world sometimes, and I remember I'm just sitting there and go, God, I would love to see all of the A side of At War with Satan,
Yes.
You know, oh my God, can you imagine that all the way through?
Yeah.
It would just blow.
Well, that's another thing. It's like there's so many people asking, and that was where I was driving. You know, I kept driving towards that, going, "Why don't we just do it?" You know, I went. One of the points I used to use was I went to see God Hates Us All. Slayer were doing the God Hates Us All, and Joel MacGyver, who does Total Guitar and works for Future Publishing, a lot of books, had contacted and said, "Do you want to go and see Slayer? They're in town at the Astoria doing God Hates Us All." I said, yeah, and Mantis was at my house, Jeff was at my house, so I said, let's go down and we'll meet Joel and we'll go and see this. And he wasn't into Slayer, but he was like, yeah, sure. So we go down and meet Joel. We go to the show. So they played the first half of God Hates Us All. In the middle, without stopping, Lombardo goes into Angel of Death. They play All Rain and Blood and then finish off God Hates Us All.
Oh,
so
my
they played
God.
2 albums non-stop. And I was like, my jaw was on the ground going, unbelievable.
Oh,
This is my favorite band. This is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so my idea was exactly that. We could preempt, roll up with a few songs, get to At War with Satan, play the whole At War with Satan, and then do some more songs to the end, and people would lose their mind.
Mate, mate, I don't know where I'd be. I'd be like, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? This is unbelievable.
You know, now people are still asking me, would you do that? They asked me to do the Black Metal Anniversary series of shows. Would you do that? I said, but I'm not on that album. I know, but we want you to do it. I said, well, why don't you ask Conrad? You know, because we want you guys to do it. So I said, Jeff, okay, shall we do this? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Fuck it. He's not going to do it. We'll do it. But, you know, and the response was amazing.
Oh,
and
brilliant.
we did New Abaddon there. I had Nick Barker there. So
I'd love to have been there. It would have been amazing.
Yeah. But even now, people are still going, will you play At War with Satan? I can't listen. I'm not on the album. I didn't do it.
I know.
But they don't care. They want to hear it live, and they know that they have a chance with me to hear it live. So
one day you never know, Tone. One day, right? One day. You never know. There's always a tomorrow. There's always a tomorrow, right?
Exactly.
Well, thanks for coming on chatting, man. Like, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like, I hope that everyone's listening to this will go dive into your Atomkraft, your Venom, because you're more than just Venom, Tone. You are a much more rounded and gifted musician and have much more to you than just Venom and Venom Inc. And I think people should go and take a listen, because particularly like the first Atomkraft album. I mean, I know it took years to be made, and I know Future Warriors is something that you like. It was lived with you for so long and then got made, but it is an album that is. It is outside New Album. It is outside it. That's the perfect. It is. Yeah. It sits completely outside it.
Yeah,
it
I mean,
does.
they never. I just in respect of that, and thank you very much for the praise, and thank you everybody for listening to Tone and me just babbling on. And I hope nobody's offended. You don't have to tell me I'm a wanker. I know I'm a wanker. So, but in respect of that, the thing is we couldn't get categorized because it isn't a thrash album. It's proto thrash, and it isn't new wave of British heavy metal.
Speed,
so
it's not speed metal. It's not, is it? It's just
no. And that's why people were like, well, you see a lot of new wave of British heavy metal books. We are in a lot of stuff, of course, in historical terms. But you see a lot of new, and they don't mention us. And you see a lot of early thrash stuff, and they don't mention us. And that's because they're going, well, they're not that, but they're not that. So it's like, well, okay, just write books about us then.
Yeah, exactly. And I want the royalties.
Yeah, exactly. We got our own category.
Exactly right. So that's the thing. You've always been on the outside of the box, and that punk attitude is where it comes from. Like, do what you want, be where you want. There's something I love so much about punk that does that, and it's done it for all of us. And we have to pay. I mean, I'm going to see the Pistols next month here in Sydney. It's no John Lydon.
No. And Johnny's a bit down about it, but they're turning it up, and it's all the rest of the boys, and it sounds great.
Hey, so. I just want to see Steve Jones, to be honest with you.
Yes, I know.
I just want to see Steve Jones. I just want to see Jonesy and Matlock and Cookie and
Glenn. He was there before Sid, so I mean,
Glenn,
come on.
I've met Glenn. He's a nice guy. He's a great guy. But Steve is one of those people where, couldn't play a note, didn't know what he was doing, not trained. No. Look at the sound he makes. Yeah. It's just bodies is like.
I know.
Maybe at my funeral, I saw my funeral list. Did he play bodies? So everyone's going to sit there and listen to them play bodies before they leave.
Brilliant. Mine was I Don't Want a Holiday in the Sun.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Well, there we are.
Fantastic. All right, well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, son.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I could talk to you all day. Enjoy your evening and rest, because I know you've been working today. So you enjoy and rest up from the trip from America. But
I will do. And you enjoy the rest of the day. And I do apologize. It's so early in the morning.
Oh, don't care. I love it.
Completely. So I do apologize.
Yeah, I don't know. No. It's all right. I got back from Sydney late last night. We've been seeing a band, and that's all right. See, a few hours sleep. Fine. That's what tea's for, right?
Yeah, at our age, it doesn't make any difference.
Makes no difference. I'm up at 5 every morning anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do that with my training. So
yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Well, keep it real, man.
All right. Well, thank you, Tone. Thank you for everything, and thank you guys for listening. Keep supporting Tone. Keep supporting the media, and keep supporting the bands. You know, Australia's got an incredible scene. I know most of them, obviously. Yes. And I look forward to seeing you all when we come again at the end of the year.
Cannot wait, and I'll be at every show, I think. All right.
Brilliant.
All right.
See
you, man.
Be good.
Yeah, you too, man.
G'day, America. It's Tony and Ryan from the Tony and Ryan podcast from Down Under.
This episode is sponsored by Boost Mobile, the newest 5G network in the country.
These guys are no longer the prepaid wireless company you might remember. They've invested billions into building their own 5G towers across America, transforming the carrier into America's fourth major network alongside the other big dogs.
Yep, they're challenging the competitors by working harder and smarter, like this amazing new network they've literally built. They have blazing fast 5G and plans for all the latest devices. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store or find them online at boostmobile.com.